Good afternoon everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. So today we are looking at a very interesting topic, which is taxonomy. So what is taxonomy? So taxonomy is simply defined as the study of classifying organisms depending on the shared characteristics. So when we are classifying organisms, we look at what characteristics, what do they do, how do they live, that they share in common. So if two or more organisms share specific traits, then you can classify them as, let's say for example, we have a group of humans, a group of cats. Why isn't a cat in a specific group like in lions? So there are what we call the characteristics. So now, when classifying, it is very much important to know what you're looking for. So depending on the characteristics, now these are what we call the hierarchies. So these hierarchy ranks are simply more like the amount of characteristics that they need to share in order for them to be classified. So here we begin from the most general, those characteristics that they share that are general, to the least general. So to begin with, the highest taxonomic rank is what we call the domain. So what do we mean by the domain? So the domain is the highest taxonomic rank, because here we are just looking at general characteristics. So under the domain, we have the domains. We have three domains of life, and these are what we call the bacteria, the Archaea, and Eukarya. Only three characteristics. So now under here we look at what we call the bacteria. Examples we might have is E. coli, we might have cyanobacteria, we might have also nitrobacteria, nitrosomonas. So there are a lot of bacteria that we have. Now under the group of Archaea are these organisms that are able to survive through very harsh conditions. The example that we have is Halobacteria. We also have what we call, under the thermophiles, the thermoplasma. We have a lot of Archaea. So now we also have the Eukarya, which many of you are aware. Under Eukarya, we might have organisms such as humans, generally animals, and plants, and fungi, which form their own more like group. Now, under when we look at the other taxonomic rank, we should look at what we call the kingdom, which is the second largest rank. Why is it the second? Because we are looking at the most general characteristics. Like for example, when we look at Eukarya, we might be looking at animals, plants. So these are able to have the characteristics of life, like which is cells, growth, and all that. So there we were generalizing. So as we are moving down, we are going to find that we are reducing on what the general characteristics are. So now, being the second largest taxonomic rank, we have different examples. So the kingdom will be within the domain. So we have, for example, we have the Animalia. So under Animalia, we might have humans. Now when we just say Animalia, it doesn't just mean humans. We might also be talking about lions, as long as it is an animal. So this one is general. The other thing that we might look at is the Plantae. Just to mention the humans, we might talk about Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens are just thinking man. We have the mango tree, and all that. So now under the same kingdom, we might have fungi, which are yeast. There are a lot of fungi. So the main thing is that when we are looking at a kingdom, we are generalizing. When we say fungi, there are a lot of fungi that we might have. So if you see these names such as Mangifera, in indica, these are just the names which begin with the genus plus species name, which we are going to look at in the next chapter. So now, the other taxonomic rank that we have, which is the third taxonomic rank, is what we call the phylum. Now under the phylum, this is more like a subgroup in the kingdom. In other words, what I'm trying to say is, it is within a kingdom or rather beneath the kingdom. So the example that we have is what we call the chordata. So under the chordata, this is where we mainly find animals that have got a backbone, mainly, but others will not have the backbone. So we also have the phylum, which we call the Arthropoda. Under the phylum called Arthropoda, we might have insects, we might have spiders, we might also have what we call crustaceans. Crustaceans are simply those that live in water bodies such as crabs and among other things. We also have the other phylum, which we call the mollusca, which mainly have got those animals with soft bodies such as the slug and the snail. We have a lot of phylum. So now, when we are doing classifications, we here the way it's arranged, it is in such a way that the characteristics are more like now becoming specific to a certain organism. Now the other taxonomic rank that we are now looking at is a class. So this class divides the phylum based on more specific traits. So every time you're looking at taxonomy, you are dividing. So if you look at how the phylum was, when we talk about Chordata, we might have a lot of animals, we might have amphibians, we might have reptiles under Chordata, but under the class we are more like looking at specific traits. Like for example, under the same Chordata, which is the phylum, under the class we might have Animalia. These are animals that are able to breastfeed and take care of their young ones. But under the same class, which we called, or the same phylum which we called Chordata, we might have mammals and all that. We also have Insecta. Though Insecta might be in the phylum which we were calling Arthropoda, but Insecta is specific. We have bacteria, we have ants, all those that have got 6 legs. Now, when we are doing that, we are also now going to group. So let's say what we were looking at, the mammals, we are now going to go to the order. How is it different from the class and order? So these show very close features. Like for example, when we talk about primates, under primates you will just say, let's say primates, we might have monkeys, we might have humans. You cannot put, let's say, a dog in the primates. No, it doesn't work like that. We also have the carnivora, which are animals that eat meat, specifically eat meat. For example, we might have lions, bears, cheetahs, those animals that eat meat only. So under the same order, we might also have herbivores, animals that eat specifically plants. For example, we might have giraffes, we might have elephants, among others. So as we are dropping down to the taxonomic ranks, we have what we call the family. What makes them a family? They must show similar characteristics. The similarities, it's more like they are increasing. The examples that we have is Hominidae. So Hominidae is more like when we talk about those that show really similar characteristics. Like for example, we might have what we call the humans and the chimpanzees. So if you look at these two, they are very similar in genetic information. If to be specific, they might carry as much as 98% in terms of comparison in their genetic information. We might also have Felidae, which we are looking at cats and lions. So if you look at this is not necessarily specific. So as we are more like reducing on the group, you will find that the characteristics are now very close to each other. Like the cats, we have the big 5 cats, we have the tigers and all that. They will be put in the same family. Now, the other taxonomic rank that shows really closely related similarities is what we call the genus. Now when we look at the genus, we are looking at organisms that share very close similarities. So we have what we call the Homo sapiens, the family of Homos. We have Homo habilis, Homo sapiens. Those will fall in the same genus, except those that lived a very long time ago. So those that have got similar characteristics. So you will find that the genus Homo represents the Homo sapien, Homo erectus, and all that. So those organisms share very close characteristics, though they are both man, but under the genus they will be grouped into the same, but you will see the difference when you look at the species. The other thing is that when we are looking at the genus, we might have other examples of what we call the family Panthera. This family, we might have examples of the lion, which is the Panthera leo, and the tiger, which is the Panthera tigris. So if you look at the first name, which we are calling the Panthera, this is the genus name. The genus name is the same, but the end name will be different. So why is that? So the last name shows what we call the species, which is the last taxonomic rank we are going to look at. So now, when we are now looking at specifically what we call the species is the most specific rank. So a species is a group of organisms that are able to interbreed to give viable offsprings. When we say interbreed, these are able to firstly mate, and they are able to give fertile offsprings. So we might have organisms, let's say humans are able to interbreed, their offspring produce, they are also able to interbreed. So that is what characterizes two organisms to be of the same species. They must not only be able to interbreed, but they must give viable and fertile offsprings that are able to produce fertile offspring. Like for example, we have the Homo sapiens, which we might call the humans. We might have the Panthera leo, which we are calling lions. So now the main difference is this: when you look at our previous thing, which was the genus, we have the lion and the tiger. So the tiger are in different genus, or they are in the same genus but different species. Meaning to say, if these two were to mate, they won't give fertile offsprings. Therefore, they cannot be in the same species. So that is how we deal with the taxonomy. This is the introduction to taxonomy. So now, all these might sound numerous. So I have made a simple mnemonic. So you must just ask yourself, do kings play chess on Find Gods too? So this is the way the taxonomic ranks are arranged. So here we have the domain, we have the kingdom, we have the phylum, we have the class, we have the order, we have the family. For God we have the genus. Then for stool we have the species. So thank you very much for watching my video, and I hope you would subscribe and like for more.